I was in banking.
Oh, you in banking?
Yeah, I was doing the fun thing, like my parents told me to do, like society tells you to do. I mean, Dave was like a billboard, like advertising for me for like these corporate guys, right? There's a lot of people like him, and there's a lot of people that need help. Had I known what I knew now, like PPC could got where it was in 3 years instead of 7.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Hustle Muscle, a podcast by Zing Lifestyle. And on today's show, we're having Justin Parks. Justin is a personal friend of mine, also one of the most unique strength and conditioning coach in Saigon. So Justin, how's it going, man?
It's good, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for joining us on the show today.
Honored to be here.
Yeah. Justin, you've probably heard this question like 1,000 times before, but why did you, like at what point, like you decided you could come to Vietnam and have a career here?
Okay, coming to Vietnam, that was an easier story. Like I came to Vietnam like the first time in 2012. No, sorry, 2005. 2005 was the first time I came here. And there was just something about this country. Like the people are so friendly, like you could feel the energy. And what really resonated with me was like it's just so different from where I grew up. So I grew up in Vancouver, Canada. Like the way in Asia and in Vietnam specifically, it was just so different. Like the way people were so friendly, like the familial structure. I mean, I like the hot weather. So being in Vietnam at that time in 2005, and I had spent 4 months here at the time. When I came back to Canada, when I started my career and I was in my early 20s, like it just never, like I couldn't shake it. It was just always there, like in the back of my head, like all the time. What would life be like if I could try to do something and live in Vietnam compared to Canada?
You just decided to quit the job and come here? Like, what were you doing before you come to Vietnam?
So I was in banking.
Oh, you in banking?
Yeah, I was doing the fun thing, like my parents told me to do, like society tells you to do. You know, get a good job, work, and get the house, white picket fence, this sort of Western dream sort of thing. But it was good for a while. I worked in a bank for 4 years, and this was after the first time I went to Vietnam. And I had a career. I did well. I got some promotions. People told me I did a good job. It made me feel good. But like, it definitely wasn't fulfilling.
Yeah.
But at some point, I think it was like 3 years in, there was a change in management. The vibe was different. All the good people that I was working with left, and I kind of felt like alone, and I didn't really like the job. So it was at that time, actually, it was a blessing in disguise because it forced me to either, okay, accept this and hate life and hate what you're doing, be sad, or make a change. And it was at that time when I was like, hey, with my girlfriend at the time, wife now, Joanne, I'm like, let's go to Vietnam. Let's do it. There's nothing holding us back. Let's go. I'll sell everything. I'll get my bonus, and we'll go. And we did.
Just like that, like just quit everything, just come to Vietnam.
I mean, in a way, like it took time, right? Like I think from the moment that I decided to the moment that we had left, it was probably maybe 8 to 12 months.
Yeah.
Part of it was, we talked about this before, but like, something like that's a scary move, hey? Well, not knowing any better, the initial plan was, hey, let's try to find a job in banking or finance. Like my immediate skill that I had, the immediate job experience that I had. But, coming here in 2012, it was a pretty bad time, like economically, for the banking and finance industry. So there weren't really any jobs. And again, that was also a blessing in disguise because I couldn't find work. I got a little bit like sad and maybe a little bit depressed at the time because I didn't know what my purpose or what was it I was going to do. I didn't want to fail. I didn't want to just like, okay, I'm coming home and, hey guys, it didn't work. I'm back. And everyone would be like, told you so. But I think it was like 6 months in. I was looking at a job board online, Vietnam Works at the time. And it was just, hey, like there's a job for a trainer. And Joe's like, you should apply. I was like, okay. So I applied. And I started doing that. And next thing you know, a couple years later, it's PPC. And 7 years later, I'm talking to you.
But like, you didn't just stop at being a trainer. You actually become a strength and conditioning coach. What's that all about? And for frankly, like, what the heck is strength and conditioning?
Where do you want me to start? What is?
Like, what's the difference? Like, what is strength and conditioning is compared to just working out?
Sure. Like, I think working out's like, that's a really good word. There's a workout and then there's training.
Yeah.
Like, workout's kind of like you do something once. Hey, I'm going to exercise. I'm going to burn calories. I'm going to lift these weights, trying to get bigger biceps, whatever. But there's less mythology, like less of a process behind it,
yeah, for sure.
Less of a science, and less of a long-term planning about it, composed to strength and conditioning, which I think is training. Like, in training, you always ask the person, what is the goal? What is it that you want to accomplish? And for anyone, like for any type of person, that can mean 10 different things. But that is the thing that you're trying to go towards. So if you have a goal and you know what you're doing, well, you can actually make a plan to get there and follow it. And so there's progressions, there's all these things to consider. But in short, there's training, and then there's working out, and they're different.
But how did you become a strength conditioning coach? Like, you told me that you came here, you got a job as a personal trainer, and I associate personal training with fitness training. And you worked at a
Bosu ball, bro.
Yeah, Bosu ball, Bosu ball, and all that. Like, how was the transition? Like, how did you get the idea? What idea that gave you that you're gonna open a strength conditioning gym? Like, what's the story there?
So, like, I'm not sure if it was the same for you.
Yeah.
Maybe like you guys are younger, you're growing up differently. Everything's a bit more modern now. What's fitness? Lose weight, gain muscle.
That's it. That's about it. Yeah.
But like, where I was from, that's kind of where you start, and then you learn more and you evolve. So as a trainer, it's kind of where you start. Like, I didn't know any better. Like, I was just, shoot, man, I'm losing my money. I still want to be in Vietnam. I got a job. Let's do a good job, right? So just trying to always be better. But there was a big shift when I was personal training, and I think it was like my third or fourth client, and his name was Dave. And Dave was at the time like early mid 40s, like this corporate guy, like the weekend warrior, whatever you want to call it.
The weekend warrior.
Have you never heard of that?
I haven't heard it before.
Like the weekend warrior, when I grew up, like in Canada, it's like the guy that works at a desk job all day, and then on the weekend just goes out, like sports. Like, I'm going to play football, I'm going to play basketball, I'm going to work out, I'm going to do a marathon, I'm going to do this. So that's kind of like this idea of a weekend warrior.
But we don't have that in Vietnam. Like, corporate people doesn't work out at all.
I think that's going to change, man. I know a few. I think it will change, and I think you'll do. I think you'll help with that too, man. But yeah, so there was this guy Dave, and for all intensive purposes, he was an athlete.
Yeah, sure.
Like, he ran marathons. He was competitive. He tested himself. He always wanted to do better. But he came up to a point in his life, like many people do at this point. I think he was in his 40s. Just like, hey, like, I heard about you from my friend, and I have these nagging pains and injuries, and it's really affecting my life and all the things I want to do. Like, I want to run, like my shin hurts. I'm at work, my neck's bothering me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing push-ups. I'm doing like 100 push-ups, and like my elbow is all messed up. Like, well, hey, man, like, I can help you with that. And like, I already had my certifications for all this strength coach stuff, but I was like, hey, like, let's do this a bit differently, man. You have a goal, and it's surrounded by pain. I'm telling you what if we fixed your pain by making you a better athlete? And he's a little bit skeptical at first, to be honest. But he's like, all right, let's give it a go. And essentially, over the months, we fixed all his problems. He had no more pain. He became more athletic. He fell in love with strength training. He gained like 5 kg solid muscle mass, man. His wife's like, what the hell happened to you, man? Like, it was cool. Like, and Dave was like a billboard, like advertising for me for like these corporate guys, right? This guys like, t-shirts are super tight, blah, blah, blah. And so it was with Dave that made me realize something. Say, hey, like, there's a lot of people like him, and there's a lot of people that need help.
Yeah.
And I was agreeing more and more with what I was thinking and less with what my gym wanted to do. So that was when I started thinking, let's just do this by myself. Let's set up my own gym. Let's do that. And that's how PPC started.
Another big decision, right?
Yeah, you got it, man. Another big, scary decision.
And you were an athlete yourself too, right? Back in college.
Yeah, I played college basketball.
Yeah. Why you stop? Why didn't you just go to the NBA and keep doing that?
I'm not good enough. That's a good question.
Yeah, why did you stop? Like,
well, okay, one, I didn't. Like, I still play ball. Yeah. I still play very competitively. I organize games in Saigon. I've always been around basketball. It's like one of my first loves. Why did I stop? Well, I stopped playing seriously when I was 20, so I was like my second year. And I didn't really have a good year in college. And maybe this is just life, because my girlfriend at the time broke up with me.
Oh, shit.
So then I was kind of like sad, and you know how that is, and maybe you make dumb decisions or whatnot. But it was because of that I went to Vietnam.
Oh, for real?
So it was like, stop playing basketball because maybe I'm sad. The girl broke up with me. Also, there wasn't really like a future. I kind of had to like figure out what my career was going to be. But yeah, no, I started lifting weights because I was short. Like, I'm 5'10", but like on my basketball team in high school, like in grade 8, I was one of the taller players. Yeah. And then like grade 9, 10, whatever you start, I just stopped growing. So I was like at my peak in like grade 8, grade 9. It was really sad. But I used like lifting weights as a way to try to give me advantage. Like I wanted to be the fastest guy on the team. I wanted to be able to take bumps and bang with bigger guys. And on the flip side, it helped because, you start lifting weights, you get muscles, and, it gives you confidence.
For sure.
And maybe girls like that, maybe they don't, but it gives a guy more confidence. That's interesting, man. When I first started working out, like I hated working out.
No, for real.
Like I just didn't like it. Like I didn't like how it made me feel. I didn't like being sore. Competitively, I didn't like being able to do something. So there was a senior, so a grade 12 was helping me when I was in grade 8. And I didn't like that he was so much better than me at this. And I think it was, in the beginning, it was more like not liking the failure that made me continue than like the benefit of it. But that of course changed for me, right? Like I love what I do in strength and conditioning, but like it took me time to fall in love with it.
Yeah. But you didn't go on to play at the NBA. But fast forward, almost 20 years later, now you're working with some of the pros in the basketball scene, right?
I am.
Yeah. How did that happen?
There's this company called P3 Sports Science. Yeah. And I've been following them on YouTube for a while, like years. And I just saw them doing really interesting training stuff with pro NBA players and pro athletes in all these different sports. And my dad at the time was in California. He lives in Santa Barbara. P3's only facility at the time was in Santa Barbara. So I was like, hey Dad, I'm coming over in like a couple months. Have you heard of this place? And he's like, oh, I'll check it out. It's over here. It's not too far away from the house. I said, okay, I'm gonna cold call them. So I literally, just to give you some context as well, like P3 now is maybe one of the world's top sports science athletic performance facilities in the world. They work with like half the NBA, MLB, football, Paralympics, you name a sport, they've got it when it comes to a pro athlete. So I cold emailed them and I'm like, hey, my name's Justin, I'm a strength coach in Vietnam. I'm coming over to Santa Barbara. Like, I'm curious. I want to learn from you guys. I think you guys are just fascinating. Do you have anything? Can I pay for a session? I know you have an assessment. Can I pay for an assessment? Can I just hang out? Whatever, I want to do. And long story short, they were saying, yeah, actually it's funny that you reached out to us because we've been meaning to start this internship, mentor to mentoree relationship program. And I got lucky. They took me on, and I was their first ever intern.
I have to cut you right here. Because I have heard this story before, but did you lie on your resume?
I mean, have you ever fluffed up a resume before?
Oh, what have you told him?
Well, I told
Tell
him,
us.
I told him I'm a strength coach, and
Yeah.
I work with some pro athletes here in Vietnam,
Yeah.
things of that nature. So yeah, like, I mean, I fluffed up my resume. Sometimes you got to fake it till you make
for
it.
sure.
It all worked out, and that was that. This guy Dave is the reason I set up PPC. That brings me to P3, and I got my first pro client, pro athlete, maybe like 6 months, 7 months in. I can't remember exactly, but this guy. So this guy's
at
name.
the time that you just opened BBC, right?
Not right at the time. It was months after.
Yeah, oh, sure.
And maybe it was like 6 months after. So this guy Christian Charles, Christian's 7'1". He's got arms like that go on for days, and he's a pro basketball player.
Hey, was he playing for Saigon Heat, right?
He was playing for Saigon Heat.
Yeah.
And Christian's super awesome guy. He's actually a really good friend of mine now. I was at his wedding. He was at mine. We talk a bunch. But yeah, so this guy Christian, again, very good basketball player. Actually, he was voted, I think, a year ago as one of the top 10 all-time GOATs of Southeast Asia basketball.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so this guy was like, he's like Southeast Asia basketball royalty. And he reached out to me. He's like, hey, can I see you, man? I got like a double disc herniation, like L4, L5. So this is like serious stuff, like low back. Like he's getting nerve issues. Like sometimes he can't even walk without falling over. Like it's pretty serious stuff. And so I'm like, yeah, come on in. Let's do an assessment. Let's see what I can do with you. And I was like, I asked him, I'm like, hey, like, why'd you come here, man? He's like, well, hey, actually, like one of my good friends, he plays in the NBA, and he trains at P3. So I was telling you about him, and then when I mentioned P3, and he's like, oh, there's a guy like that, like in Vietnam, you got to go see this guy. And so that's how Christian got into my sphere. And we were able to help Christian, like we were able to solve his problems eventually. He had a really good career, won really good awards, like Defensive Player of the Year again, and continued his, add to his resume of GOAT status here in Asia.
But it's not just about the physical training. Training is also about the mental health aspect, right? Especially with Gen Z. Gen Z has a lot of mental health issue. And these kids growing up with depression, anxiety, and the only people that I know of that show any signs of confident athlete. Like, do you think that strength training is like kind of improve that a bit more?
I mean, yeah, 100%. Like, I mean, I'm a huge advocate for strength and conditioning.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because it can do something for you if you really learn it. Like, if you think about what people want in fitness, right? Because that's all they know from the start. They just know, oh, I need to get more fit. I need to get like more athletic or whatever. They don't know what they need. And even if they ask for strength and conditioning, they may not even be getting it, right? Like it's still so young of an industry here. But the common thing between, fitness in all ages is, in your teens, right? You just like kind of want, you want chicks, right? You want abs, you want to flex, you want girls.
I want to look good.
Yeah. Okay. What do you want in your 20s? The same thing. Right? What do you want in the 30s? Not to lose what you had in your 20s or your teens.
Yeah.
And for women, it's the opposite thing. Like, I want to look skinny, like look good at my dress, like feel confident, be attractive, all this sort of stuff. But then this thing happens when you're like 40 and 50. 40 is like maybe the last stand that you have. But you start getting all these injuries and nagging stuff if you don't start changing things around. When you're 50, it's no longer like you don't care about like if I don't have my six pack. You just like I wanna move well. I want my life to be good. Like I want to spend good time with my kids and my grandkids.
Yeah, I want my back to stop hurting.
Exactly. So, relating this, strength training like helps so many things. You got this fitness side of things, but what you can do with strength training, because there's this whole school of thought behind it. If you get a kid young, one, they're going to get confident anyways. Like
for sure.
They're training, right? If you do it right, they're doing it with their peers. So they're going to grow together. They're going to have this supportive environment. A place where they feel safe that maybe is not something with their parents, where maybe they're getting pressure. or at their school where maybe they're getting pressure about exams or something like this, or like away from the phone where they're getting pressure from social media and things of that nature. All right. Yeah, so from mental health, like the younger you can get them and have them develop a positive relationship about the facts about fitness, you're going to increase physical and mental health and give them a better, path for the long term. Like, health and fitness should be a lifestyle. It should be a priority. It should be a part of everyone's life, not a thing that you do because you had to. Right? That's already the wrong mindset.
You started PPC, right? You told me that you want to reach 100 people, 1,000 people, and change their life. Yeah. Okay. This is kind of a low blow, but the first time I met you, you asked me, where do I see myself in 1 year? And now it's my turn to do the question. Where do you see yourself in 1 year?
Sure.
PPC in 1 year.
That's an easier answer for me because I thought about it. Yeah. You couldn't answer that question at the time, eh?
Yeah.
It's all good. Why is it a low blow? It's just, it's just discovery, right? And I think it's always good when, you can ask tough and serious, challenging questions. Like, that's how we grow and when we start to think about things. So don't look at it like, low blow. Think about it as growth, man. Growth. I wasted time in my 20s because I didn't have enough mentorship, people around me like I do now that would challenge me and ask these tougher questions. Because had I known what I knew now, like PPC could got where it was in 3 years instead of 7. I could be doing, we could have made more of a difference. And, you guys have so much opportunity when it comes to this space. I want to make it part of my mission to help you maximize it and not lose time like maybe I did. Like, if you can stand, it's called standing on the shoulders of giants.
Yeah.
Like, learn from my mistakes. And if you can, then you're going to be farther along than I was at your age. And if you do that, you bring up SNC, you bring up fitness in Vietnam, you're bringing up me, you're bringing up everyone, you're bringing up this country.
Now, also the reason I start doing other things that I've been doing right now because of you. Like, I've watched tons of videos back then, blah. It was on Juice with Justin.
Juice with Justin, yeah.
Something about the future of the fitness industry in Vietnam. Yeah, from those videos on, I start message people, start doing things, all because of you, man.
I appreciate that, man. That's that's just part of my mission statement and what we're trying to do.
And that's a wrap. Thank you for listening to the Hustle Muscle podcast, and we'll see you on the next episode.